Hey guys, it's me Tony with Tiana Talks, and I'm here with the T. Make sure y'all like this video and subscribe to the channel because I am keeping it real on here. Now, Shamia, I made a video previously about her being mean to the other ladies on the show in previous seasons, okay? Before she even got a peach. And she would be rude to the other ladies defending Porsha, so make sure y'all check out that video. But on this one, we're going to speak about Shamia and her basically being a flop on this season 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now let's get into it. So we have to admit, when Shamia first came on the show, we were all so excited for the most part. I mean, Shamia was going to bring us what we wanted to see that we have not seen in Real Housewives of Atlanta in a long time. And that is class, okay? Real money. Shamia was giving I am that housewife. I have a millionaire husband. We have not seen that in a while on Housewives of Atlanta. You live in a huge mansion in Buckhead, which is nice. We haven't seen huge mansions in a while on Housewives of Atlanta. And, you were just set up right. You had a little elevator. Your husband gifted you a $500,000 Rolls Royce on the first episode. Shamia was living that life. And one thing we liked about it the most, she seemed like a humble person in the beginning, right? And a lot of people remember the way Porsha and her went back and forth in previous seasons. And we all, for the most part, felt like Porsha was responsible for the teardown of her and Shamia's friendship. So we were also rooting for Shamia because here's your time to show us that you are that girl, not you living on Portia's coattails. But it very much felt flat. Very much. So let's get into the first thing that made Shamia seem a bit cringy. It was a moment where she was questioning about Drew and Drew's status with Dennis. And that seemed a little bit off because Shamia, that's between Porsha and Drew. And you are already living off of lapdog rumors. So it really didn't fit in for you to join in Porsha's feud. But sure enough, you did it. And then you happened to get into it with Angela right after. And when you and Angela were having a simple discussion about the whole issue, instead of you responding like a regular adult, she decided to actually turn into a child and do the name calling and making fun of looks. She decided to make fun of Angela's nose. And if you guys remember, a lot of Shamia's friends have plastic surgery. I mean, she had at least 4 close friends in the room when she was making fun of Angela's nose, calling her LaToya Jackson and the Jackson 5. And, those things just aren't really that funny when you become a grown woman in your 40s, like picking on each other's looks. Angela's not an ugly woman, and neither is Shamia. So it all just seemed very childish. And then to top it off, those two seemed to make up. Shamia apologized for the nose comment, the nose job, making fun of someone's plastic surgery. But then she later on was with Porsha after Porsha and Angela fell out. And Porsha decided to say that she would screw Angela's husband because she was upset with Angela. And Shamia took that moment to laugh and kiki with Porsha instead of just staying out of it or nothing at all. Or even just saying, all right, girl, let's not go that far, okay? She didn't say anything. She laughed about it and egged it on. And that really hurt Angela because she thought that her and Shamia were good. And she also felt like, Shamia, you're a wife, so, this shouldn't be okay to you. Another thing that was definitely bothering viewers with Shamia was her consistent tackle on Drew Sedora. She was either downplaying Drew's career with her singing abilities or just kind of inserting her opinion with the whole Drew working with Dennis thing and Porsha. And it just seemed very odd. I mean, the whole season, Shamia would throw digs at Drew's musical abilities, and it seemed very off-putting due to the fact that Drew Sedora had been in the game for a long time as a musician and an actress. I mean, she was even making fun of Drew's acting skills, saying that she was on Tubi, this and that. But when fans looked up Shamia's acting past, they couldn't even find movies where Shamia actually had lines. So it's just a bit conflicting seeing her constantly attack Drew. And I think for the most part, people felt like it was some envy there. Also, the main biggest turnoff with Shamia on this whole gang up with Drew, the fact that she met up with Drew's husband for lunch. Drew was going through a divorce from Ralph. And Shamia decided to not only meet up with her, but bring Drew's enemy, Porsha, to sit there and talk about Drew and question everything going on in that marriage and in that divorce. Now, what woman does that? If we're friends, why would you bring your friend who hates me to sit up there with my husband, who I'm going through a divorce with, and you guys are talking about me, questioning about our divorce, and bringing up rumors about who I'm dating? That's just nasty. And Shamia had no business orchestrating that. So next, really, we have this thing between her and Porsha, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, I was a part of the people who assumed that Porsha was the issue due to the fact that Porsha has been the issue between her and Shamia in the past and with other ladies. But this season, it really revealed to us that Shamia was the culprit behind her and Porsha's demise on camera, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, Porsha started off wrong with, doubting Shamia's voice on the song and this and that. But from what I understand, these two were having issues before the season even aired or cameras were picked up. And not to mention, Shamia would off camera, not on camera, but off camera, she would go to the other ladies and talk poorly about Porsha. Now, mind you, Porsha has a lot of character flaws. I mean, if we're being honest, she does. And a lot of ladies would have on and off issues with Porsha because of those flaws. But Shamia, if this is your best friend, you don't seize the opportunity when cameras are down to speak poorly about your friend. And on camera, Shamia would seem to defend Porsha, but off camera, she would be with these same women, including Drew, Brit, Kelly, Angela. You'll go to these women and talk poorly about Porsha. And during the whole season of it being filmed, Shamia would go on any interview, any press she could do, and she would somehow blame Porsha for the downfall or insinuate it was on Porsha. But in reality, from what we are seeing, it was you this whole time. And with her and Porsha having their one and true sit down on the show, and even that was still meant to be censored by the two because these two had made an agreement not to talk about their issues on camera, which in my opinion, if I was Bravo NBC, I would have a problem with that because I pay you guys big money to speak about your life, okay? And what you're not gonna do is shortchange me on my dime. But anywho, these two, they had a sit down, guys. If you remember, Porsha and Shamia sitting down to speak about what's going on between them two. And Shamia was ready to go, okay? She was ready to go ham. And at the time, we were like, okay, well, Shamia, it's good for you to stand up for yourself. And Porsha always skates on without accountability. She doesn't want to talk about her issues. She runs away. She gaslights. She deflects. But what I did catch in this moment with Shamia, she was ready to throw Porsha under the bus. The first thing she said was, why can't we act like how we act off camera? You told me that if they have to get the real us and the real you, they'll have to pay you more money. Now, what Shamia is saying is true, but the fact that she did say that on camera, you were basically throwing your friend under the bus to her employer. That's like saying in front of your boss, oh, well, you never do work. Like, you just pretend you're on the computer, but you're really playing Minecraft. Like, that is the equivalent of what Shamia just did. She outed Porsha for basically saying you're not really doing the work, and you're saying that if they want you to work for real, they're going to have to pay you more. Now, that is low for a friend, right? Because those words probably should not have came out. You could have left it at, why do you act different when we're on camera? Why do you act? You didn't have to say, oh, you said that they would have to pay you more. Shamia, that was weird. That was weird, okay? And then we even see in this reunion trailer, Shamia had to bring up the old rumors from her, Phaedra, about her messing with Candy and Todd. And my thing about that is, why did you decide to keep the friendship going with Porsha? Now, I'm not saying you're wrong for canceling the Porsha friendship because I would have canceled it immediately but why did you continue it? And then as soon as you get a peach, now you have so much issues with Porsha. Now you can't take it anymore. What is it, Shamia? And lastly, guys, her and Brit EADY. Okay, these two, they were good the whole season, right? But then we started seeing little things brew between Shamia and Brit, and we have to admit, Shamia started it. Brit dropped off some donations for the Grenada trip, and Shamia decided that those donations were not good enough. Now, I agree, Brit, you could have brought way more donations, right? I agree, I stand on that. But here's the thing, you can't really complain about a donation, you know? But if you are going to do it, fine. But don't do it in a way that is passive aggressive. Shamia decided to passively aggressively shade Brit on the donation instead of just being a woman and saying, hey, Brit, like, you know, we all have good money. I just would have appreciated, let me pull you to the side and let me just tell you, I would have appreciated this. And she said that she did that off camera, but on camera, you decided to shade Brit and saying, oh, well, we're running around in Rolls Royces and, you know, we have Birkin and this and that, but we can't give more donations. Like, and then Brit was like, I feel like you're calling me out. And then you're like, oh, no, well, you're not the only one with a Rolls Royce. We know that y'all have Rolls Royces, but you were calling her out because you had just said you didn't like her donation. She was the only one whose donation you did not like, Shamia. So there you go, being passive. And then you tried to embarrass this girl in front of the whole group. That was the first thing, right? And you and Brit moved on. She hugged you, you know, when you were crying about your daughter. But then, you know, when it came to Brit and Kelly having issues, Shamia jumped in it and was defending Kelly. Like, let Brit and Kelly have their own. Why do you do this thing where you like to jump in and insert yourself? You've been doing that the whole time we've known you on the show. And to make it worse, guys, what we didn't like about it was that, you know, Brit and Kelly are going back, throwing slugs at each other, talking down on each other, and then you're over here dictating, saying, oh, well, Brit, you didn't like it when Kenya did this to you, so don't do that. Shamia, they're both trashing each other. And like I said earlier, Shamia likes to paint a narrative that is untrue with these press runs and interviews because she was going on the whole season claiming that Brit was trashing her daughter, speaking poorly about her sick child, and we all were infuriated because we're like, no, you don't talk about a special needs child and you don't talk about anyone's child, period, but especially a special needs child. And we all just really believe Shamia. But just like how she kind of capped on this whole her and Porsha situation and how she would run back and tell Porsha things that the lady said but put like extra sauce on it, she really did that with this Brit EADY situation. Because in the argument that her and Brit had, Brit told Shamia, mind you, this was after Shamia was going back and forth with Brit and definitely coming for Brit, okay? Brit told Shamia, why did you go to Miami instead of going straight home after Grenada? You were there partying with Kelly and taking shots instead of going back home to be with your daughter who you were crying about. You said that your daughter was sick and you were crying and you were so concerned, and I was there for you because I really believed you. But as soon as we finished wrapping up the Grenada trip and we filmed and we left, you decided to go to Miami instead of going straight home to check on your daughter. And in my opinion, Brit wasn't wrong for that. Okay, she wasn't wrong. Shamia had sat up there in Brit's face and called her all types of promiscuous labels that I won't say on YouTube. A lot of O's and bores and things that rhyme with that. And Lady of the Night, street walking and whatnot, you know, claiming this girl pops pillies, you know, addicts, addiction, whatnot, bad things, okay? You said all those things about this woman and you don't think she's gonna question you? Because it seems true. If your daughter really is sick, why would you not go home and check on her? Even after, let's say, fine, you wanted to stay for the whole work trip. Fine. Why not leave as soon as you guys are done filming? Why even stay in Miami with Kelly and drink it up instead of going home? I have to agree with Brit. And I understand what you guys are saying, you know, parenting is sensitive, but we have to admit and call a spade a spade. That is not speaking bad about someone's child. That is talking about you, okay? And you're not even parenting, because at that point, I don't think Brit even believed that Shamia's daughter was sick. She was basically saying you lied. You lied about it for attention on the show. And we all, at least I can say, if Shamia's daughter was genuinely ill, sick, in the hospital, whatever, I believe Shamia would be there for her daughter. So I have to side with Brit. Your daughter wasn't sick. You just kind of wanted a moment. You put us on an emotional roller coaster like you had been doing that whole season. Like you sat up there at Porsha's event crying after you talked about her. You know, you have this thing with the tears. You do a good job. You know, maybe you are a good actress, but you have this ability to pull out tears so fast and make us feel bad for you. You know, the only difference between you and Porsha is that you can actually get tears out. So overall, I think it's safe to say if we had to grade Shamia as a housewife this season, you know, like a letter grade A through F, I'm going to have to give Shamia a 0. It didn't even get a percentage F. It's just a 0. It's a flat 0, Shamia. I mean, it just was very disappointing. And to be honest with you, I was rooting for Shamia, but in the back of my mind, and I'm being so real, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know, the previous seasons, you know, you didn't really bring anything, and you kept exhibiting lapdog behavior. And when people would call you out for being a lapdog, you would stand on it. You're embarrassing. You're a grown woman. You're 44 years old. I mean, what? I don't know. But at this point, I'm kind of good off Shamia. She doesn't seem to be authentic on the show. You know, I can say with pretty much everyone else in the show, they have tried to exhibit some authenticity on the show. Most of them, not everything is, you know, but at least most of them, I would say. And the fact that Shamia couldn't give us anything genuine this season, I mean, let's be honest, we know nothing about her marriage. We didn't see her husband. You know, it seems like you kind of pick and choose when you want to use your daughter as a way for us to sympathize with you. And don't get me wrong, your life could be very hard, but how are you so overwhelmed when you have a nanny, a nurse, you have family help, your husband, you're not a single woman. And I'm not saying that married women can't be under stress, but I mean, I'm a mom. I have 2 children. I live a nice life, in my opinion. If I had that much help as Shamia, I would probably be 20 pounds lighter. I think my hair would be very full. You know, you have all this help and resources, and, you know, you can just take a dip in your pool. Like, my community pool is closed right now for renovations, and it's summer. I just don't get Shamia. I don't. And it honestly, it kind of, I hate to say it, it reminds me of Monique. Is it Monique or Monique's on Potomac when she used to be on with her husband? And I remember her complaining so much about how overwhelmed she was. And yes, she had 2 or 3 children, but she also had help. You had people helping clean up your home. You had nannies and baby, like, you guys kind of kill me with this, because if you have enough time to go on trips, film a reality TV show, get breaks from your kids with the trips, I don't think you're really that overwhelmed. I think you guys are used to being single women with no kids, and the times where, you know, it does seem like you have to be a mom and a wife, you know, maybe it's catching you guys off guard. And, you know, we see how things ended up with Monique and her husband, Chris. And I just hope Shamia doesn't let this fame get to her head and this reality TV stuff ruin her family, because I believe her husband does love her. She has a nice life. Don't ruin it for this TV show. I mean, even her in that weird music video she just put out, she was like grinding all over that younger guy in her husband's house for the music video. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with using a different guy for your music video. If you want a different attractive guy in your music video, fine. But it was just a little bit cringe, and I'm not the only one who felt that way. I might make a video on it, but Shamia was like naked dang near and bending over, and you know, it seemed like she kissed the guy. We didn't see the front, so maybe she didn't kiss him, but she was like all over him, and he was feeling on her booty, and she like jumped in the pool with her butt cheeks out. We can see her hoo-ha. It was a lot going on. And Shamia, we just want to know the real you. You know, Phaedra said you like to get around. Brit said you be cheating on your man. I don't know what you do, Shamia, but let's just get to know the real you. But y'all get in the comments. Let me know how you feel about this. I really want to hear y'all opinion. Let me know if you guys think Shamia should return or not. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we are trying to grow here. I had took a little break, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I was going through like a lot of stuff earlier this month and the end of May. So I'm not gonna lie. It was some things going on. But I am much better now, okay? And I'm here to feed y'all the good tea. Peace.